When I was a child, my family moved to a big old two-floor house with big empty rooms and creaking floorboards. Both my parents worked, so I was often alone when I came home from school. One early evening when I came home, the house was still dark. I called out, "Mom," and heard her sing a song voice say yes, from upstairs. I called her again as I climbed the stairs to see which room she was in, and again got the same yes reply. We were decorating at the time, and I didn't know my way around the maze of rooms, but she was in one of the far ones, right down the hall. I felt uneasy, but I figured that was only natural, so I rushed forward to see my mom, knowing that her presence would calm my fears, as a mother's presence always does. Just as I reached for the handle of the door to let myself into the room, I heard the front door downstairs open, and my mother called, "Sweetie, are you home?" in a cheery voice. I jumped back, startled, and ran down the stairs to her. But as I glanced back from the top of the stairs, the door to the room slowly opened a crack. For a brief moment, I saw something strange in there, and I don't know what it was, but it was staring back at me. I checked into a small hotel a few kilometers from Kiev. It is late, and I am tired. I tell the woman at the desk that I want a room. She tells me the room number and gives me the key. But one more thing, comrade, there is one room without a number and always locked. Don't even peek in there. I take the key and go to the room to sleep. Night comes and I hear the trickling of water. It comes from the room across from me. I cannot sleep, so I open the door. It is coming from the room with no number. I pound on the door. No response. I look in the keyhole. I see nothing except red. Water is still trickling. I go down to the front desk to complain. By the way, who is in that room? She looks at me and begins to tell a story. There was a woman there, murdered by her husband. Skin all white except her eyes, which were red. I currently live in a haunted house. I've heard voices, footsteps, lights have been turned on and off. One of the ghosts has a thing for silverware. I hear it clattering in the drawer all the time, and sometimes a knife or two will end up in the wrong slot in the drawer. But the strangest and scariest experience I had was the first night I spent in the house. I wasn't finished moving in, and there were boxes everywhere. I didn't even have my mattress up there yet. I was bedding on an old futon mattress, watching a video on my phone, when I got the pins and needles feeling of my feet falling asleep. Except it wasn't on my feet, it was on the top of my head in the shape of a hand. I said good night, turned off my light, and tried to sleep. When I woke up, my closet door was ajar, but other than that, everything was otherwise untouched. I guess whoever my unseen roommate is just wanted to check out who I was on my first night. A man and his young teenage son lived together in a small house on the outskirts of town. The lot their house sat on was large and overgrown, with tall hedges blocking the house from the street. One day, the man left on an overnight business trip, but took his son's phone charger by mistake. As a result, neither the boy nor his father could charge their phones. Both phones were fully charged at first, but the man was delayed on his way home, and by midnight on the second day, both phones were dead. It was just after this that the boy heard a knock on the front door. He was a sensible boy and knew not to open the door to strangers. Instead, he looked out of his bedroom window onto the drive to see who was there. The boy saw his father's car in the drive, but he could not see the front door from his room. He went downstairs and looked through the peephole in the door to see who was there. He could see his father on the other side of the door, looking back at him, and the boy reached up to open the door. But something stopped him. "Dad," the boy called out, "why are you knocking on the door? Did you forget your keys?" The boy waited, but there was no reply, just another knock on the door. "Dad," the boy called out again, "why don't you just open the door and come in?" But again, there was no reply. Instead, There was just a steady, rhythmic knocking on the door, which began to get faster and faster. The boy's dad was knocking constantly on the door, waiting for him to open up, when suddenly he stopped, and there was no sound at all. The boy looked through the peephole again. His dad was still there, so he decided to open up. When he opened the door, he discovered his dad's head taped to the door, in front of the peephole, and a trail of bloody footprints leading down the drive.